In case you haven't heard, I have a new love in my life. His name is Auckland Reactor.
This 6-year-old harness racing celebrity has stolen my heart. Auckland Reactor is a superstar New Zealand champion with wins in 25 of 31 starts and almost 1.5 million in earnings that he made down under. He's crossed the wire first in prestigious events like the Auckland Cup and the New Zealand Derby. That's only a couple of the numerous stakes victories on his resume. And many of his wins have been quote-unquote legendary. Down under, he's racing royalty. Even the Prime Minister of New Zealand made efforts to attend his races. But most importantly, he became the people's champion. Fans would flock to racetracks just to witness the efforts of this pacer, a horse that they dubbed the Flying Machine. Other words to describe Auckland Reactor have been powerful, brilliant, and flawless.
So, of course, who wants to deal with a long-distance relationship? Well, guess what? Now, I don't have to, because Auckland Reactor lives in the U.S.
Auckland Reactor, who is a son of Mach 3, was sold to North American interests for a whopping $3.5 million. Never has a harness horse sold for an amount that high, either publicly or privately, with the intent to continue racing. The Reactor Factor landed in the Northern Hemisphere on February 3rd. His new home is now in New Jersey. But if you remember, February was a brutal month, and the dead of winter here is the middle of summer in New Zealand. So, my poor boy didn't even have a winter coat on when he arrived. Not to mention, flying halfway around the world takes a lot out of you. Auckland Reactor seemed to have one battle after another getting back into top shape. He had been sick, and he had problems with allergies, and he even had some breathing issues, and just needed some time to get used to the transition in this unfamiliar territory. But when spring arrived here in the U.S., Mac, as he's called, was ready to qualify and did it 3 times, with his fastest being in 1:51.2.
Finally, he was ready to make his debut on a new continent. And I was ready to drive 4 hours just to see him race.
Auckland Reactor was in the feature invitational pace at the Meadowlands, so I jetted downstairs to the paddock to see Mac in person for the first time. He's been called a gentleman champion, and nothing could be closer to the truth. He's a stallion, but was just so perfectly mannered. I then met up with trainer Kelvin Harrison, also a Kiwi native, to talk about the celebrity in his barn. By the way, Kelvin is no stranger to great horses. He's conditioned Direct Flight, Falcon's Icon, and one of the fastest mares in the sport's history, Frightening Pig.
So I know you've had a lot of really great horses in your barn before, but how do you end up with a gig like this? Like, this is really cool, having this horse that you get to train.
Well, I guess I sort of got lucky, but you know, when he was sold to U.S. interests, I had to pick somebody, and I guess I was lucky enough to get him.
He came in February, is that right? He came to the U.S.
February 3rd, yes.
Okay. It's a huge transition for a horse. A lot of people don't realize, like, you're coming across the world, and down there it's summertime. Here it's like the dead of winter. You know, we're having snowstorms. How does he make that transition? It hasn't really been that easy for him, right?
Well, it was very difficult because if you remember back last winter when he arrived, there was a lot of snow and it was very cold. And he was cold for a few weeks, but he got through it. And, he got sick when he got here, but you know, he acclimatized very well, really.
I heard something about an oxygen chamber. What's the deal with that?
Well, he has bad allergies. He has allergies, and you know, I can sympathize with that because I have it myself. So the oxygen chamber does seem to help a lot.
I'm very starstruck. You know, tonight I'm like taking pictures for Facebook, taking pictures that I can send to my friends and everything. So Anybody else like get crazy like me? I mean, he's like a celebrity in the sport, which is totally cool.
Yeah, he's a big hype in New Zealand. You know, he's a big hype. There's been a lot of people stop by and see him. Yeah, a lot of reporters, and yeah, he's been a lot of interest in those.
And on that note, my very last question is, and I'm really hoping that it's a yes. If he wins tonight, am I allowed to come into the winner's circle?
Absolutely, I'd love to see you.
All right, I didn't even have to like finish the question, and I got it absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather.
There's so much hype. Really? How can Auckland Reactor possibly live up to it? No time to be nervous now, though. They're behind the gate. Okay, stop it there. Let's just cut right to the chase. The race went in 1:47.3. Yes, you heard me right, 1:47.3. And my man was 6th.
Okay. So he didn't do so hot in his American debut, but I still have faith in him.
This was his first pari-mutuel race in the United States and his first in 5 months. On top of that, the race went ridiculously fast. How is Auckland Reactor supposed to compete in his 2010 debut in the 4th fastest race in Meadowlands history? Or maybe it's just that I made him a little nervous by visiting him before the race. It may take another start or two for Mac to get back to his winning ways. And I'll be right there rooting this standardbred sweetie to the finish line. In fact, I love cheering him on via the internet in some of his previous races, and you can too. Just go to YouTube and do a search for Auckland Reactor. There's like 80 different videos about my new 4-legged favorite.